What is going on, everybody? Sorry about the late delay. Dealing with stuff just not want to work right. Um, just tried to upload something. It got stuck on the website, a StreamYard. I had to shut down my whole laptop just to get back on. I apologize. Trust me when I tell you this has been a very hard and difficult 24 hours. I'm not even gonna hold you. It's just if if everything in the world could just happen at once, this is exactly what's going on. Just just everything that can happen at once just happening at once. And good God. It's just I guess it's one of those things. I mean, it's just one of those things. I'm trying to bring you the Guardians of the Galaxy um, spoiler review. I'm having a hard time just pulling up my overlay right now. Just 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 StreamYard. Y'all was doing so good after I reached out to you. Here we go with another problem. It's the same problem all over again. And I don't know what y'all got going on, but y'all got to get it together. I'm serious. Y'all got to get it together because this don't make any sense. We can't advertise that we're doing streams and all these streams with this, that, and the other, whatever. I mean, things happen, but this is multiple things over multiple after a multitude of time, and I'm still dealing with the same stuff. My audience deserves better than what I'm getting right now, and I'm not happy at all. So you will get a email from me because doesn't make any sense. This absolutely doesn't make any sense. Um, I can't even go because I have a spinning dot just to upload just to add an overlay. I'm thinking, I could delete a bunch of stuff and this is the site. And I can't do anything right now. So if you see me go away, that's because I had to force quit this StreamYard just to get this thing to work right or to get back on. So give me a second. You probably see me go away again and come back. But StreamYard, y'all got to get y'all stuff together. This doesn't make any sense. All right. Let me try this one more time. Let me see if I can just get stuff to just work right. Because I just literally just had to force my Google, and I can't use Safari. That's the crazy thing about StreamYard. You can only use Google. You can't use Safari. So I can't even go to another website to be able to try this out. It makes you use Google Chrome. So again, I'm stuck. We gonna All right, we just gonna roll with what we got because this is nothing. This thing is just tripping. You know what I'm saying? We gonna roll with what you got. You already know the intro. You already know what it is. Let's just go ahead and get it started. Let's do this. All right, so I'm gonna just roll. Like I said, I can't get access to my overlay. I don't know what's gonna happen as far as like the actual stream. Hopefully, I don't have any more problems. Just going through the regular stream. You know what I'm saying? Derpy Entertainment, what's going on? Um, we're just going to go. I'm gonna just go ahead and go into this spoiler review. Like I said, it doesn't make any sense that I can't operate my stream the way that I want to because of whatever reason, whatever stream y'all got going on. I it's nothing I can do about that. So I gotta personally just keep going. Um, but this is a spoiler review on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So like I said, there's really nothing that I could be able to do to make stuff, work. So I'm going to go ahead and let's talk about, let's talk about Guardians. Let's do it. Uh Stop the President. I can confirm that no animals were harmed in the making in this film, and let you tell some of the other people animals was hurt. You know what I mean? Let other people tell you animals was hurt all through this, which I get. I do understand. They do show in their own way animal cruelty, especially the way the high evolutionaries, his, egotistical, I don't give a crap attitude about you, about, your friends, your family, the ones that you met along the way. I don't care about nothing. And you're right, Derpy, they were CGI. These are CGI characters. And you know, they didn't care. They did not care. Um I do want to say this. I want to say that, you know, to me, this was one of the best films, as far as an emotional roller coaster and all of that I've seen since No Way Home. But the difference between No Way Home and the Guardians movie, to me, is that I've been on a ride with the Guardians of the Galaxy since what? Let me see, 2014, when we first got introduced to the Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, I didn't know that much about even though I collect comics, I wasn't that entrenched, to put it more like that. Not that I just didn't know, but I wasn't that entrenched in the Guardians of the Galaxy. And the reason why I wasn't entrenched in the Guardians of the Galaxy, because nobody was really like clamoring for these books. And I'm gonna just be honest. There were people who, just be honest with you, that would rather, get, 40 different type of Spider-Man books, comic books, before they picked up Guardians of the Galaxy. And the Guardians of the Galaxy didn't really start picking up until Guardians of the Galaxy #1. I want to say that was like 2015, or was that 2018 when they redid it? And I think I do have Guardians of the Galaxy #1 from that 2018 run. But nobody was checking for these characters. Like, I'll give you an example. Rocket Raccoon was introduced in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 before Black Panther. Rocket Raccoon was introduced. And I want to say Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is what, 2005? No, I'm sorry. Let me take that back. About 2011. That's when we got introduced in for me, that was like one of the first introductions to the character was for me was Marvel vs. Capcom, because again, I wasn't checking for him. I mean, he got in there before Black Panther did. You know what I mean? And I don't even want to talk about Marvel vs. Capcom 4. It's trash to me. But anyway, so I knew about the character in that game. He had like an Australian accent or whatever, and he was cool. He made a lot of tech. And then the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they must have knew, Marvel must have knew, hey, we're going to put out this Guardians of the Galaxy team. So put them on any kind of console that you could possibly think of. And then, they end up being on that Marvel versus Capcom game. So we got introduced to the Marvel, to the Marvel's version of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And let me just say this. If the comic books in the movies were accurate, right? Let's just say hypothetically they were accurate, right? I'm sorry, a lot of your comic book characters would get canceled immediately. Matter of fact, you will have a lot of confused ass film reviewers. There's not you have people who go and watch films not because of superheroes or anything like that or comic book characters actually here. They just really just go to watch films, right? They like films. And what we need to do, what we have to have in mind is that there's a difference between print and film. And you're not going to get a one-to-one depiction the majority of the time. Hell, Batman didn't get a one-to-one depiction of himself. Either you had him not doing detective work, but just beating up people. You had him, you had a great Bruce Wayne, but an all right, Bruce Wayne, or you had a hell of a Bruce Wayne, but who the hell is this? I mean, a hell of a Batman, but who the hell is this guy? It's Bruce Wayne. He's too reclusive. He's too reluctant. And then you just have the wacky. You know what movies I'm talking about, right? So I want people to understand, and I'm gonna go through my thoughts and stuff, but I want people to start understanding that in these films, they're not gonna be what you read in print. Matter of fact, most of the stuff that you read in print, and I've talked to people that are real big comic book fans, they will talk about, man, he's not like the way he had in comics. Well, this guy had 40 years of different writers in the comics. Which one are they picking? Or is it their own interpretation, just like Jack Kirby's interpretation and Stan Lee's interpretation and Mark Webb's interpretation and Fabian Nacia and Jonathan Hickman, you know what I'm saying? And Chris Claremont and all these different writers. You got to stop destroying your movie-going experience with your expectation of somebody you read in print. It's not going to be the same. I'm sorry to tell you, it's going to be a different interpretation. If you don't like it, don't go to the... I'm just going to cuss, but I'm going to keep my F-bomb. I'm going to keep my one F-bomb. What I'm saying is that your expectations on a film, especially if you've been reading about a character in the story. I have Infinity Gauntlet, I have Infinity War, I have Infinity Crusade. I know that Adam Warlock is nowhere close to the Adam Warlock from those stories or future stories or any of those stories. Technically, he's more in line like the Jack Kirby story. I'm sorry to tell you, and even in that realm, because he was so early on in the movie, they give an explanation. Whether you like it or not, you can't say they didn't tell you why he's acting a certain way, why a character is being a certain way. All you got to do is pay attention to the movie. I get it. Rocket is nowhere close to the comic book character. Nowhere close. But we love Rocket Raccoon. We've seen the elevation of his story. Drax is nowhere close to Drax the Destroyer in the comics. Matter of fact, when he first got introduced, that was the most comic accurate that you could possibly get. Right? The first Guardians movie, that was just about as. And then they had to develop something than just a one-note character. And I want people to understand on in print, you can have a one-note character. Why? Because you're reading the issue either every 2 weeks, or you're reading a big trade paperback over these comics over a period of time. That makes sense, right? That makes sense. What's going on, Eric Shaw? This makes sense, right? That in print, a comic book creator, a comic book writer has some civil liberties depending on what the editor wants. Y'all keep forgetting that a lot of the interpretations that you get from your comic book heroes, the editor has to go in and be able to approve or say, hey, I kind of want this. We're looking towards this event. Can you write the character a little bit so he can be able to fit in this event? And sometimes that takes the civil liberties out of the comic book character, right? Out of the creator that's creating these stories, because he knows I got to make this character fit within this realm. So I'm going to give him a little something, but I'm going to put my own twist into it before he goes into this big event. And then it depends on the writer. I would just say this: Rob Liefeld is one of my favorite comic book writers or whatever, comic book illustrators, right? You know why? Because he created Deadpool. But Deadpool by Rob Liefeld is totally different, and he created the character than Fabian Nicieza. You know what I'm saying? And then a lot of other people who wrote Deadpool after that. You see what I mean? You know, he wasn't even breaking the fourth wall in his first in New Mutants 98. Yeah. You see what I mean? Cable is a little bit different from New Mutants 87. But what I'm saying is, if you are just collecting one set of comics, like if I'm just collecting Amazing Spider-Man, right? Hypothetically, right? There is probably 7 different versions of Spider-Man that's on publication. I'm just choosing to go with the Amazing Spider-Man, not Spectacular Spider-Man, not Miles Morales Spider-Man, not what is it? What is the other one? Where Doc Ock is Superior Spider-Man, so on and so forth. There is just multiple layers of other comic book creators doing what they want to do with the character. You have to use that same imprint in film, because unlike print, I've said this in my non-spoiler review, you only have the allotted amount of time that the character's on screen for us to connect with the character. If you don't connect with the character, that's perfectly fine. But to sit and just complain that that's not my character, when I can ask you, have you read Fantastic Four number 100 and whatever, when his first debut? Does he act like the one that Jack Kirby wrote? So right now, no, it doesn't, because that was 40 years ago. It's not going to do that. You see what I mean? So you just gotta let creators create, whether you like it or not. Creators create. So I like comics so much, because each character has a different spin on them based on who's writing them. And I'm going to end my rant there. I'm gonna get to some of the comics. I can confirm after seeing Volume 3, being a DC fan mostly, that I had hopes with James Gunn for DC before it. Now I can affirm that all DC fans need to respect him, support him, and shut up in good hands. And I'm going to get to James Gunn. Matter of fact, because I don't want to touch nothing else, because I don't want to lose what I got going on in this stream. So let me just start with James Gunn first. I am a big fan fan, ever since Guardians of the Galaxy 1, I absolutely love James Gunn. I love James Gunn because what he has done with characters there were obscure. I'm just let's be honest. And I've said this before, and I say it again. Besides, man, I love being a turtle. Man, nobody was checking for the Guardians of the Galaxy before James Gunn made them the way that they were. Then they had a rebirth. There, yes, I'm not saying that there wasn't any good stories. I'm not saying there wasn't any fans. I'm not saying that. But on the level of the Fantastic Four, on the level of the X-Men, on the level of Deadpool, on the level of any of the X-Men titles, hell, the Inhumans was getting more props than the Guardians of the Galaxy. He's not Punisher. He's not one of the A. They were not the A-list, even though they had Adam Warlock. On their team, even though they had Quasar and all these other type of people, nobody was checking for them until James Gunn put his spin on it. So again, this gives the interpretation of letting creators create. And this is why I love James Gunn. James Gunn took Peacemaker, a very absolute character that nobody cared about. Matter of fact, if DC lost a license to Peacemaker prior to him being in the Suicide Squad, they probably wouldn't have cared at all. Because what nobody didn't even know, nobody knew about Peacemaker like that. Ain't no hardcore Peacemaker fans until James Gunn got his hands on him and allowed John Cena, even though he's larger than life, like literally, because this is John Cena. I mean, John Cena came right here, right now. I couldn't be able to see him, no way. But he took that character and allowed John Cena to do his thing since he's very comedic. He's been like that since he was in the WWE, when he was the Doctor of Thugonomics, when he was rapping against people. He allowed him to express a character and be able to bring a character to life. Peacemaker was one of the best things I watched on TV that wasn't The Boys, that wasn't Loki or WandaVision. You see what I mean? You gotta let people create. Do you think Wanda in WandaVision was like the Wanda from the comics? If you say yes, you're lying, because she's not. And there's so many different interpretations and different, hell, in comics, you know how many times you get a different origin story or they retcon stuff in Marvel Comics, DC Comics, IDW, Image, DW, it doesn't matter. You're going to get something different. All the hoopla crying and, hey, he ain't my character. He don't act like that in the comics. If you read just one version of it, he probably does it based on that one version. But then, are you collecting this man's comics since you're that hung up? Like MODOK. MODOK is so obscure that I wasn't going to take him seriously on film. No, even if they did the original backstory and they had AIM and all of that, it's a floating head with baby arms and baby legs. You think I'm going to take that dude seriously? Like, could you even imagine? We did. We seen a version, Darren Cross's version on film. And yes, that shit was funny. Yes, I cracked up. Yes, I'm not going to lie. I loved every minute of it because I knew that was a humongous troll job by the writer of that movie. Because he wasn't going to take that character seriously. Hell, Marvel allowed Hulu to do a whole series on MODOK, which was funny, which was voiced by Patton Oswalt. That was great. Didn't get renewed for a second season. And it wasn't nobody crying about him until they seen him in Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania. Just because it's easier just to complain. Get online. I don't like this. It sucks. It ain't my comic. At least say they kill yours. That's a whole nother story. Recast T'Challa. All right. Let me get to this. What he did with the Suicide Squad Peacemaker is where I knew DC got their guy when they hired him. But with Volume 3, with the balance tones and the movie Superman Legacy, I've already said James Gunn is, next to the Russo brothers, James Gunn was the best director in all of the MCU. Taika Waititi had one hit. and that was Thor Ragnarok to me. And Thor Ragnarok is one of my favorite MC. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor Ragnarok, Captain America Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, the first Avengers movie, the first Black Panther movie, which that still has some flaws, but I still enjoyed it. Those are some of the ones for me. But what James Gunn did with Guardians, I enjoyed Guardians, Guardians Volume 2, and Guardians Volume 3. So when I say when DC, I mean when Disney in 2018 fired James Gunn, I knew then that was the worst thing they could have ever done. Why? Your competition is right there trying to pick up the scraps. And what you just got, you didn't get a scrap, you got a fucking golden spear that's going to pierce the hearts of Marvel because of the way that he writes. He's more unique, and get this movie was self-contained and still better than everything that was trying to mash up together that wasn't No Way Home. It was better than Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Hell, let me not get started. Let me not get started on that. I literally haven't watched that, even on Disney Plus. I haven't even watched that movie, but it's better than Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. It was better than Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania, even though I like certain elements of that movie. The way that movie, like Derpy said, balanced tones, phenomenal. You know what I mean? Phenomenal. That's a movie that I could constantly watch over and over again. And I credit that to James Gunn. James Gunn is amazing, and DC is in great hands. His writing on this was amazing. Amazing. It's only so many few Hollywood writers that could be able to bookend people's story, which, again, the great thing about this is that he didn't have to kill anybody to bookend the story. And I've just made a video. Who's gonna die? Nobody had to die. They just let him go off in the sunset. You know how amazing that is. Did Zoe Saldana said, "Hey, you know what? I'm done playing Gamora. Y'all can recast." That's interesting. You're telling me you can retire a character to go off in the sunset and just go on his own adventure somewhere, and then you can recast them later because, hey, they want the character to live on because they're done. How is that not a concept that could have been done in another movie? I can't think of this movie, but I'm thinking they could have did that with Black Panther. I'm just saying. Let's get to the cast. Let me get to the cast. Let me start. I'm going to go in the order it is. I'm using IMDb, and I'm going to go into the order that's on IMDb, right? Let me start off with Chukwudi Awuji. Chukwudi Awuji. Boy, his name is, man, I am messing it up. I'm sorry. I do apologize for messing up your name. As the High Evolutionary. Let me just say this. He's one of the best villains the MCU has had because he's literally a pure villain. Let me just say this. Killmonger was a pure villain, but I kind of understood his motivation, so I probably would have kind of like, yeah, you know, it's either the conquered or the conqueror, or you either the conqueror or the, you know, or you're on the side of the conquerors. But High Evolutionary was just literally a evil son of a gun. And I like that. I like that the character's motivation was his ego. Because, again, he created the Sovereign. He said, my only criticism was I thought it was too long. It was funny, Eric. It flows so well with me. Yeah, man, I wasn't even paying attention to it. I wasn't like, ooh, is this over? I was more like, ooh, is they gonna die? Is it gonna die? I mean, the second watch, maybe it may be a little longer. You know what I'm saying? But I was kind of on death watch. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It technically technically Rocket did die because he went to the afterlife. He just got sucked back in, or he was in purgatory, or whatever they call it. When I say the High Evolutionary is one of the best villains that the MCU has had in a long time, especially since probably Red Skull, is because his job was to make his job in the whole movie was to piss people off, and he did that. Now, the way that he did it was, genetics, trying to create the perfect specimen, the perfect being. He created the Sovereign, which, remember, was supposed to be perfect. Like when you literally fight on Street Fighter and you get a perfect, you know what I mean? When you don't get hit, they were supposed to be perfect, right? Now, when Adam Warlock showed up, wasn't he perfect? Wasn't he the perfect being? Right? But we gonna get to that. I'm gonna get to him. But I love that he was driven by his ego. And the reason why I love he was driven by his ego, because in the opening scene, he's grabbing Rocket, and Rocket kind of reaches out to him, or kind of he's curious. He's like, but Rocket probably already he was probably already an intelligent raccoon anyway, right? And that's probably why he was the only one that didn't cower and kind of like went to him. And we've seen throughout these movies how intelligent Rocket is, right? We've seen this in the movies. In almost every single movie that he's been in, he's the smartest guy in the room. Like, he can literally build anything at any time, and we see now why he's genius level intelligence. And when the High Evolutionary found that out, remember when they was making the jacked up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and the High Evolutionary got pissed because he told him, he's like, man, you're just missing these particular type of proteins and all of this and da-da-da-da-da. And he was flabbergasted. And this is the reason why. And this is the reason why I like this character, is because he wanted to be God so bad. He wanted to be a god, right? And he was Dr. Frankenstein. But this time, Frankenstein was highly intelligent. It can be able to figure stuff out more than you can. And you can't take it because your ego won't allow you to take it. So you just destroy everything that this person loves. You mock them. The typical narcissistic behavior. I loved it. I loved and the theatrics. You're talking to a theater kid. Chukwudi Awuji killed that. The theatrics, everybody was talking about he was yelling too much. Have you ever been a part of theater? He brought theater acting to the Guardians of the Galaxy, where, it made sense because his ego wouldn't allow him to become, and even he was groveling. I need you to tell me, how did you do that? How did you figure out the protein? How did you do it? And he started telling me, he got more pissed. That's a good villain that I have. And I'm glad they left him alive. Because normally he'd be dead. The good villains always die. Except for Red Skull, he got sucked into, I'm guessing, the Soul Stone. Yeah, I don't know. But all the really good villains just end up dying. Not this guy. And I loved it. Rocket Raccoon was voiced by Bradley Cooper. And I said this. James Gunn, I guess, came out and said that, secretly, that this was Rocket's story all along. He's the secret protagonist. Now, there's some callbacks, because Rocket ended up leading the new Guardians of the Galaxy. The Guardians of the Galaxy split, and now Rocket is the leader of the Guardians. That was hinted at a long time ago in Infinity War. When Thor told him, he was like, "You must be the, you're the most intelligent out of all. You must be the cat." He was like, "You must be the captain." And he's like, "You're very, very perceptive." He's like the most intelligent of them. The rabbit is correct. The most intelligent of them all, rabbit. You know what I mean? So secretly, he was the main character of the story. And I like this version of Rocket. I like Rocket period, but this particular version showed, that emotion, that why he cares so much about the Guardians. Go back to Infinity War when he slapped the crap out of Thor. Because he wanted his family back. Because he already seen his family die in front of his friends. The first kind of family that he got, the High Evolutionary literally shot him and mocked his crying. And I'm not gonna lie, that scream, ooh, I ain't gonna lie, that was heartbreaking. The scream that he let out, I'm not gonna lie, that kind of got me because it was disturbing how he yelled. And that's why I compared this movie to Deadpool. It's because it's almost like in Deadpool, after Vanessa is shot and killed and he chased down that dude, and the way that he turned his body to hug him, and then he turned him in front of that bus and they both got hit, that was disturbing. Very much disturbing. And that scream was very disturbing, not gonna lie. It was disturbing, and then he was mocked for it. Whoo! I'm not gonna lie, that gets me in the feels because I said this. If you would have told me, besides the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that a fuzzy little raccoon would literally be one of my favorite, animals in comics, dude, Rocket is killing it, and Bradley Cooper does an amazing job. And I said this before, they wouldn't go get rid of Rocket. You know why? Rocket is revenue. Rocket is box office. Rocket is going to get you more money and merch because people love Rocket. They love, and he's a CGI character, and he's voiced by Bradley Cooper, so he doesn't got to come on set. He's in the ADR room. Mantis is played by Paul. I think it's Clementief. I love her in this movie for the simple fact is that she is the empathizer of everybody, but she shows everybody. Like when she was yelling at not Mantis, she was yelling at Nebula, it telling her about herself. She even said, "Man, yeah, we know Drax is stupid," which kind of hurt his feelings. And I don't think that Drax is stupid, because in the earlier films it said, because of where he comes from, he's very literal. So metaphors and stuff like that would just go over his head. And it was like, it would not go in my head because I would catch it. And everybody's like, Drax is a destroyer. He wanted to go get his family. What do you think, Guardians? Why do you think he was going after Thanos in Infinity War? What do you think he got in trouble with Guardians of the Galaxy for doing? Because he called him down there so he could fight Ronan. Y'all forgot that? And he got his ass handed to him. Did y'all forget he was trying to destroy? And he needed the Guardians of the Galaxy to be able to complete his quest. And they still didn't really get to do it. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't really get to, you got to see him fight in Endgame. But just don't act like, oh man, they just destroyed my favorite character. No, it wasn't. You just saying, my favorite character just to be saying he's not like he is in the comics. Come on, y'all. I'm starting to hate. I think I'm gonna make a video called "He Ain't Like That in the Comics" and be able to explain to you the difference between film and print. Because I don't think you guys get it. You know what I mean? Was Christopher Reeves really like Superman in the comics. He has certain elements. I mean, you know what I mean? But if you technically go back, he's literally a mix of the 1940s and 50s Superman. But he was, introduced in the 70s. In the 70s, hell, you know what I'm saying? He was a little different. You know what I'm saying? And that he was a little bit more cheesy. Did you want to see cheesy ass Superman? Where it's just cheese? The man in the movie turned the whole entire earth around by spinning around it fast. It took it back in time. Superman ain't never done that in the comics. But I'm just saying, don't nobody complain about it, because after so many years, you got used to that character. You allowed them to happen. But again, I'm sorry, I'm losing my. Mantis was awesome. And I love that she was kind of the bridge of the empathy for everybody. You know what I'm saying? I did gotta get mad that she called Drax stupid. And somebody pointed out, I don't know if it was heavy spoilers or anything, that Drax reminds me of someone who has autism or on the spectrum, that certain things is going to be done because of the way that their brain processes certain things. You're not gonna process everything like us, which that's why I was kind of mad that Mantis called him dumb, because I'm like, I don't think he just processes everything like everybody else does, and he does things to annoy you. You know what I mean? But that's the way his brain developed. It plus, you forget, Drax got a lot of trauma for losing his wife and his daughter. So you have to put that in perspective too. You know what I mean? So a lot of people with trauma find ways to try to cope with their trauma, and maybe that's joking a little bit too much, or whatever. But I love the way that his character elevated, so he could tell it. They could tell their own story for him. If these were one note characters like they are in the comics, we'll be looking at 80s action movies. And I'm sorry, there's a lot of one note characters, that was the action genre of the 80s. So anyway, Dave Bautista is Drax. Again, I just talked about him. He was amazing, funny, charismatic. I'm not gonna lie, when he hit the little girl, bush baby looking thing, and and the kickball sound came off her, I died. When he was sitting on the couch and he was trying to lay down on the couch, and like, why did they make her that shape if it wasn't meant for that? And he was getting frustrated. I felt him, because he was man, I want to relax, but he was in somebody else's house. You can't do that in somebody else's house. You know what I mean? And that's all awesome. Karen Gillan as Nebula. Nebula stepped completely up. And I love the way that they incorporated a lot of the nanotech, like with her arms, that mirror Tony Stark. And remember, Nebula and Tony had a good amount of time together. And she was almost there when he died. She covered him. You know what I'm saying? She put a blanket over him until Captain Marvel, found him. You know what I mean? Nebula spent a lot of time with, and that kind of humanized her a little bit being with Tony. Also, that for those 5 years in Earth with Rocket, you know what I mean? When she found out that Rocket had lived, and she started crying, dog, would you ever would have think Nebula, when we first got introduced to her in Guardians of the Galaxy, and especially Guardians of the Galaxy 2, did you ever think she would be that character? You know what I'm saying? Because they lost a lot of people, and they shared that holding hands and stuff like that. I would love for her to continue to be on the Guardians team. You know what I'm saying? But Karen Gillan, amazing. Vin Diesel is Groot. We actually got to hear what it sounds like when Groot says, "I am Groot." We got to hear that this time. What it sounds like when we understand Groot. He said, Vin Diesel, I love you guys. I wish he would have said, "There's nothing better than family. Then you are my family. I love you guys." I wish he would have threw a family thing in there, but I mean, after looking at some of the stunts for Facts X, please bring on the Decepticons, the Autobots, and the Guardians of the Galaxy. Uh, Let me see. Cosmo the dog. Maria Bakalova Lova Bakalova. I think it's Bakalova. Um, that was kind of fun. She was funny. She was fun. Hold on real quick. I don't know if you talked about this yet, but that hallway fight scene was dope. Yeah, I'm gonna get to some of the scenes here in a second. I'm gonna go through kind of the cast that I liked, and then I'm gonna get to some of the scenes that I really enjoyed, and some of the things that probably I wish they would have did maybe a little different, but yeah, I mean it's not that much. But Cosmo the dog, I'm glad they introduced Cosmo the dog, the telekinesis and all of that Cosmo had. That that Cosmo was able to separate the ship. That was amazing. The kind of dynamic between her and Kraglin, the back and forth, which is played by Sean Gunn. That was still amazing. Kraglin had, Kraglin and Cosmo had their own little thing going on because he called her a bad dog, and I didn't know that was a bad thing to call somebody a bad dog, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm not gonna say I'm a super animal person like that. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a human condition that people ignore. You know what I'm saying? But will take over. Let me shut up. Let me shut up. I'm doing too much. I'm doing too much. All right, Chris Pratt in this movie. This was probably the most emotional that I've seen Chris Pratt in all the movies. He wasn't even this emotional in volume 2. He was depressed. Gamora's a dick, which he was, and I loved they brought her back to the old Gamora. You know what I'm saying? That warrior. You know what I mean? But Peter Quill, Star-Lord, picks up right after a holiday special. We didn't know he was a drunk. You know what I'm saying? But he's depressed. He's going through the 5 stages of grief. You know what I mean? And he's trying to explain to Gamora how he feels. That Gamora don't know you. That Gamora's from an alternate timeline. She has no idea. She has no relationship with y'all. She just betrayed Thanos, but want to go up and do her own thing. And he is literally expressing himself because all he could see is what he had. And he knew that his Gamora died, but he couldn't get over that. And I'm really glad that he went back to Missouri to be with his grandpa. It's a good thing because, for the simple fact, is that he needs himself. He needs to go back and be grounded. And kind of understand, certain things about himself so he could go further and find that peace and tranquility within himself. D Sizzle, what's going on? What's going on? So I did like the fact that he moved back to Missouri with his granddad. On the paper, it said, Kevin Bacon was adopted by aliens, which was true. It's totally true. And I kind of like that. Let's get to Will Poulter, and I'm going over the main characters. Will Poulter is Adam Warlock. Okay, let me explain something because I went on my rant earlier. Let me explain something. The Sovereign, which we found out that was created by the High Evolutionary, was supposed to be the perfect beings, right? Remember, we got introduced to the Sovereign in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, right? And they were supposed to be the perfect beings, right? It to a certain extent, they had their own thing, but they created Adam Warlock, right? They literally told you, hey man, you pulled him out the oven a little too early. He's still a little soggy in the inside. The cookies ain't all the way baked right. I mean. And yet, everybody still complained about Adam Warlock because They was like he act like a child, but he was naive. I don't think he act like a child. He didn't know no better. He just got there. He just hatched. What the hell is he gonna find out? And yes, he's supposed to be perfect. He's supposed to be Space Jesus. That still didn't happen from his first introduction. And let me see if I can put it up real quick. Oh God, I can't spell. So he was created by Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Roy Thompson, and Gil Kane. Now, let me ask you something. Do you think Adam Warlock in the 19 what was this 1972, is he the Warlock in Infinity War, Infinity Gauntlet, and Infinity Crusade? No. Remember, this is first introduction. You got to introduce the guy in a way where it makes sense. I'm gonna just pull up. I think I'm gonna just pull up his wikis because it just makes it easier. Or try to find Marvel.com. And of course, they changed his backstory so they could make it where he's more or less, part of the No, D says I'm gonna get to your I mean they did these sizzle, but I didn't really care. It's Cosmo the dog. It's a talking dog. You know what I'm saying? I didn't care. And Eric Shaw, I love Adam Warlock too, but I do get the criticisms. But if you go back to the 1972 introduction, it's not that far off. It's not that far off. I mean, I'm not defending it, but I understood where James Gunn is coming from because it's his first introduction. He's not gonna be what we've seen later on in comics. In film, you gotta have character growth. You have to have certain things happen in film. That's something that print can do because you're constantly reading these stories every 2 weeks. In film, you got about 2 hours or more or less to be able to get this character's motivations, all of this, make you, and sometimes that happens over a trilogy, just like we seen with Rocket, we seen with matter of fact, the whole entire lineup. Gamora and Jackson were part of Adam's Infinity Watch years before they joined Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that in 1972, when he was introduced, he's not going to be the same person that he is in 1991, in 2008, 2023. And again, these are characters based on interpretations of the writers of that time. He might evolve to the one from the comics. Yes, but you have in film, you introduce a character and then you allow him to grow. This is just like Peter Parker. Is Peter Parker the same Peter Parker from Civil War that he was in No Way Home? Put it in the chat, because he wasn't. He started to grow up. He got a little bit different. I agree with the character growth. That girl should have been introduced. And I get it, and it wasn't. There's nothing we can do about it now. Only thing we could do is take the character where he is now and allow him to flourish and grow right now. There's nothing we could do about phase 3, phase 2, phase 1. Hell, they probably didn't even know if this character would be able to work in phase 2, phase 3. Remember, James Gunn's movie was supposed to come out in 2018. People forget that. Disney fired him. He literally finished the script to Guardians of the Galaxy 3, where this character could have been able to show up and then been a part of the Infinity War, but they fired him over dumb stuff, and he wasn't able to see that being realized. I gotta let people understand that for the simple fact is that, again, there was an idea and it was shut down. And that's Disney's fault. They allowed something idiotic from some tweets from years ago. Yeah, they were tasteless. Yeah, they were dumb. But dude, you let one of the best writers and director go to the rival. Your fault. So that's why we wasn't introduced to Adam Warlock beforehand. So we had to get him later. Yeah, it sucks. But man, what can you do after this? That's what I look forward to. Get him in here. What can you do after that? Okay, so again, listen to this. So in this panel, this is his first introduction in 1972, right? And I'm about to wrap this up because I gotta go over the scenes, and plus I gotta get out of here. Excuse me, I gotta get out of here. Monsters, whatever else he may be, he isn't a monster. He's everything we wanted him to be, and more, far more. So this is where my creators. I know the true nature of your evil plans. Therefore, I have no reluctance to do what must be done. Remember, in this version, he was naive. So he listened to the first person he saw, which was Aisha. And remember, he was, she's trying to tell him to do something. Do you want me to do this? Boom. He cooked the dude. He's like, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? Jim Starlin is on record as saying Marvel Studios didn't think the audience would buy into the concept of Adam Warlock. That's why they didn't introduce him during the 50 saga. And they fired the person who was going to introduce him in the first place. So I could probably see one side of that because that's Jim Starlin's side. But James Gunn also said I was going to introduce this character before all these other movies came out. So, I mean, again, this is what we got. So we gotta allow him to grow. You know what I'm saying? We have to allow the character. And then again, there's difference. I don't believe, because if that was the case, why introduce the Sovereign? Why introduce him in Guardians? That's why I give certain things like that a grain of salt, because again, why introduce the Sovereign in Guardians of the Galaxy 2? You know what I mean? Why introduce the concept of Adam Warlock in a cocoon, but then say, I don't think they would have bought into the concept? That sounds like baloney to me. Or I say it sounds like horseshit. I mean, I'm just saying. So, again, we have to allow this character to work. And again, I understand it. He comes out of, a little, first of all, he came out like gangbusters and beat the brakes out the Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's be real. He beat the brakes out of Guardians of the Galaxy. You know what I mean? And, he was dope. You know what I'm saying? He came out and he was dope. Now, I would have loved for him to have the Soul Stone in his head and all of that. Just like in this, I wish this would have happened, because I have this comic. I most definitely have this. You know what I mean? But he wasn't a part of it, man. There's really nothing we can do but go forward. And, you know what I mean? Let's just think, like I said, Captain Marvel took, and again, Captain Marvel took a lot of his, a lot of his, what they did in the Infinity, in Endgame. That was really, a lot of that was supposed to be a mix of Adam Warlock, Vision, and Captain Marvel's who Adam Warlock should have been. And I wasn't saying that. What I was saying was James Gunn was introducing the character. James Gunn introduced us to the cosmic, space world with Guardians of the Galaxy. He was going to introduce Adam Warlock prior to. And it didn't happen because of Marvel. And then when DC, and I have a good feeling DC's going to start kicking their ass. I do have a good feeling if James Gunn does what what he's done with Peacemaker and all these other characters, you know what I'm saying? He's gonna start putting a lot of stuff down. Trust me. You know what I mean? And then to have his the whole Magnus character, you know, the other part of him. Come on now. We got time. Trust me, we got time. But I'm just saying. Okay, let me get to this. And damn it. Yeah, I gotta hurry up. All right. So I gotta hurry this up. So let me get to this. Hallway scene. Super dope. When they were on Counter Earth, seeing the creature, seeing the humanoid animals and stuff like that. Super, I love that. When they were on the little his little biometric place, that was super dope also. And why that was super dope is because the color scheme, all of that reminds you of literally some of the comics that you know that we see, especially from the Jack Kirby comics. That was super dope. Also seeing a lot of this, seeing Nowhere become basically a pirate ship that floated around was super dope. You know what I'm saying? Was super dope. You know what I mean? I like the fact I like the fact that they kept doing the flashbacks, you know what I'm saying, from Rocket dying, you know what I'm saying? They trying to save Rocket and then showing his flashbacks. A lot of Deadpool 1 vibes to that, and I like that. You know what I'm saying? But they keep going back and forth from his character to what's going on right now, back to the past, to see certain things, to see how we got there, back to the present, back to his. I love that. I love that. You know, there's the the only thing that I wish they would have spent a little bit more time to finding out where the High Evolutionary came from. You know what I'm saying? And if he had ties to Kane, you know what I'm saying? Kane the Conqueror. That's the only thing. Other than that, because that script was written in 2018, and they had to kind of rearrange some stuff. For now, the send off to the characters, everything, totally dope. Totally dope. Well, I completely got to get out of here because I got to get my kids to school. I thank you guys so very much for tuning in. Sorry about the technical difficulties at the beginning of this and everything, but I appreciate you guys for tuning in to me and watching the show always and forever. I appreciate you guys. I want to just say peace and vibe higher. I got to get out of here, y'all. Where my outro at? If you came to this part of the video, thank you so very much for sticking to the end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell notification so you never miss one of my videos. And if you want to get a little bit more personal with me, make sure that you follow the social media links that's down below. Until next time, I'll holler at you guys later. Peace and vibe higher.